who come before it, and those of us who come after it will not be able to imagine what life was like before it.
Now, there's a dimension of that you left out.
Did I get it right or wrong?
You got it. You get A almost plus. Okay. So the missing part of the plus.
A gentleman's A almost plus.
There you go. Is that the notion that you'll live forever is not simply one of biology. It's the concept that once the computer can replicate all human thought, then you could actually just download your entire brain's capacity to think into some device, and then that is the functional you going forward. And it doesn't even need your body. You can put it in some other body later on if you so chose, but your existence then becomes immortal, not because you figured out how to live forever physically, but how to preserve and maintain the capacity of your brain in the machines that have equaled the capacity of your brain.
Now, not that everyone would imagine that to be a paradise, if we're going to use religious terminology. But that vision of the future is pretty much the only non-dystopian vision, the most optimistic vision of the future that's going around today.
Well, except every other version of that future portrayed in science fiction, such as when Skynet goes live.
Yeah.
That was a transitional point in the Terminator series.
Right.
That's where the machines achieve consciousness. That was not good for the humans. So
No, I appreciate that, and there are believe me, robots getting real smart. There's an immediate aversion to that, and I'm sure that when the Neanderthals dreamed of Homo sapien, they were dreaming out of anxiety.
Exactly. Correctly
They're not
so.
Going, can't wait. Can't wait for those guys to come along and bash us in the head and make us irrelevant.
They were correctly concerned.
But there is a strain of optimism to the singularity concept.
Only in the notion that there are intractable problems that the computer could then solve that we can't at this moment. But of course, computers are already doing that.
But I'm throwing you a bone here, Neil deGrasse Tyson.
I'm saying that
this is the utopia. This is the forward thinking that you lament doesn't exist in our society in popular culture.
No, he's extrapolating. He's saying the computers are this fast today; they'll be that much faster tomorrow.
Right.
And let me take that to its limit. Yeah. So he's doing what everybody else does. He just extrapolates rather than leaps into a new. So his leap is when there's this crossover point, the whole world will be different. I do a fair amount of reading of the history of science and the history of culture, and in that, I have found that every period, every generation has somebody saying the world is going to be really different in their lifetime. Not in 100 years, but in their lifetime. And if you look at the dates that Kurzweil gives, it's what, 2030, 2035? It's, most people alive today will be alive then. And so I don't have that much confidence in our ability to predict or to understand other things that come in from left field that will completely transform what matters.
You want popular culture to dream of jet cars in 10 years, but you don't want to save Ray Kurzweil's life.
His brain,
you're a monster, sir. I believe it was Stephen Colbert who first called you a monster. I will call you a monster.
Did he call me a monster? Well, I
believe so. In his book.
Must have been Pluto when I was messing with Pluto.
Yeah, you are the man who killed Pluto.
Yeah, he took that hard. Yeah.
If it is your calling in life, and clearly it is, and your passion to remind people of their relationship with the scientific universe, as vast as and impersonal as it is, why would you go off and kill a nice planet like Pluto and make all those kids sad?
I didn't kill a planet. Well, first I was...
You created a planetoid?
Well, first I was the messenger. So that's there are other people who actually did the work to discover the properties of Pluto that forced us to then reevaluate its identity. But think about it this way. We didn't lose a planet. We gained an entire new swath of real estate in the outer solar system called the Kuiper Belt, of countless thousands of other icy bodies that have more in common with Pluto than either they or Pluto have with any of the other 8 planets. So our understanding of the solar system grew by the act of going from 9 planets to 8. That's how you need to think about it.
We're going to send a rocket out there?
There is one. It's headed there now. We'll get there in 2015.
Will you go into space?
I would if give me a place to go. I tweeted once, if Earth were the size of a schoolroom globe, Mars would be a mile away. The moon 30 feet away. Space Shuttle Space Station 3/8 of an inch above its surface. NASA has managed to convince us all that going into low Earth orbit is space, but they haven't convinced me. They want to send me into space. They better send me someplace more interesting than where everyone else has been driving around the block for the past 40 years.
How far do you have to go in order to make it worth it to you?
Moon would be good, but Mars would be better.
All right.
Yeah, bring the whole family. Get a good Netflix account, some good novels, you know.
Do you think that that we'll have a manned mission to Mars?
I think only if we view going there as a strategic move. So here's what you need.
Look, here's the thing. I understand the inspirational aspect, and I believe it's important.
Oh, but that's never been enough to actually get anyone to write a check.
Right. But in a real world situation, the only way you're going to get out into space is you're only willing to do it if you go to Mars.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pragmatically speaking, how do you get there, Neil deGrasse Tyson?
Oh.
What are the elements that need to be in place before we put Neil deGrasse Tyson or a trained astronaut equivalent onto a manned mission to Mars?
All right, so there are two ways to do it. One of them is the crass way, and one of them is the noble way. You probably want to hear the crass way first.
Well, all I've heard from you is the noble way so far. So let's do the crass way, and then I'll see how that's
crass way. You go into the heads of state and highest brass in China, and you whisper to them and say, leak a memo that you want to put military bases on Mars. It doesn't have to be true. Just leak it. Then the CIA comes up with this memo. China's putting military bases on Mars. If that happens, we'll be on Mars in 12 months. Period.
I think both of you and I are now going to go to jail. What's the noble way?
So the noble way is that you double NASA's budget. That would be enough to send anybody, a team to Mars. That would be enough to do that. The act of doing so, oh, by the way, it'll take time to build the spacecraft and design it. Who are those Martian astronauts? The headed to Mars. Right now, they're in middle school. So you ID who these people will be, who these kids are, and then you track them. They'd be the toast of the town in Teen Beat magazine. Everyone will want to emulate them. We'll be the collective parent watching what grades they're getting. Are they being healthy?
Wait, Dr. Tyson, you do understand the difference between noble and creepy, don't you?
No, wait. No, this is an A, B, A goes to D.
Sounds like an Aldous Huxley novel.
Okay.
All right, go on.
So watch.
All right, so you pick out the fifth graders who are going to go to Mars.
This is our version of Mercury 7, except they happen to be in middle school
You
right
remove
now.
them from their families, you shave their heads, you put them in jumpsuits in New Mexico, and raise them in isolation to become the perfect Martianauts.
I like that, Martianauts.
Yeah.
So they go to college. And by the time they're 25 and 30, they're the age of what it is. And that's right when the rockets will be ready. And then they end up going to Mars. And it will galvanize a nation. Because people will pay attention to that on a level undreamt of with robots. You got to love robots, but nobody ever named a high school after a robot. And so they'll be daring. We'll be following them. Well, who are these teens as they go into their 20s? And it'll alter the culture of the nation to want to become scientists and engineers again. And that's the nation I grew up in, and that's the nation I want to see unfold. And when you create that generation of people, they invent tomorrow. When the asteroid comes, they don't say, oh, where do I hide? How do I stockpile food? They instead think to themselves, how do I deflect it? When the hurricane is headed to the coast, run! No, they will think, how can we tap the energy of this cyclone and use that energy to run the city that it would otherwise have destroyed? That's the kind of thinking I want to live with in the country that I call home. And that kind of culture comes about when you are exploring. And not everybody gets to do it throughout all of time. America's been able to do it. Not lately, but we've been able to do it. You've got to be sort of wealthy. You got to be ambitious. And you got to want to know what's on the other side of the hill.
Neil deGrasse Tyson, thank you so much for being on The Sound of Young America.
Thanks for having me. We've got to do this again sometime.
I agree. Neil deGrasse Tyson is an astrophysicist. His upcoming projects include a new version of the TV series Cosmos and a new book titled Space Chronicles.